Hello, my friend. It's Pat Sloan, and it is the 1st of July. Yes. Okay, so we're in summer. I feel like, oh my goodness, it is summer. We have had hot. We had some gorgeous few days in June here in Northern Virginia, where I live, right outside Washington, D.C., and now it's it's summer. Hot. Okay, let's talk about the charity quilt, because you have to get your top done. You know, there's a contest going on at the Fat Quarter Shop for those of you who get your Serendipity quilt top done. You can enter it for a chance for some prizes with the Fat Quarter Shop, and so you want to get that done this week. Work on finishing up and getting your top made. Next week we're going to talk about backing the back of the charity quilt, and then it'll be the auction. My quilt is in Texas at the Fat Quarter Shop, hanging out with all the other quilts and Kimberly and the team. So it is waiting for the charity to start, but it's there in hot Texas. All right, what else is going on? For July, you should get your calendar. I do a calendar that has 2 pages. First, I have the daily, which I follow this pretty much. Occasionally, I will switch it out because of something else I want to talk about, but I try to at least hit on these topics. And you will see for this week, for this month rather, I have some trunk show stuff because I'm sorting these quilts. I thought I will just share some quilts every so often, probably more often than is listed on here. And on the second page, you have all the sew-alongs that are coming up, the ones that are current, the ones that are coming up. And that list will, if you're in your PDF, they should click to the project pages, the highlights from the PDF while you're reading it online. But you can print it off so you can keep track and you can get in on the things and not miss out. And there's, I occasionally throw in short stuff, other little projects. You just never know. You have to keep up. And I've got everything in my folder. Yeah, I love these folders. All the links are below. Hit that subscribe and the bell. Leave me comments. Let's be friends. All right. The other thing I've been doing is this completion sheets. So what do we have? Oh, first let's do. I had to extend May to June. I actually finished 2 things for June. The typewriter with the binding. I'm going to show you that here. And then I did the pillow. They were not big finishes by any means. These are pitiful, but they are. That was what got done. So I made a new one, and you can download these at my website. I love to make quilts, and link below as well in the description box. So I'm going to put the Hope quilt, get the binding on that, get the binding on the Friendship bracelet quilt, because the quilting's done. Get a binding on the Mermaid. So it's going to be binding. I would like to make the pillow shams for my bedroom, new pillow shams. So I'm going to put that down. I have a set of blue blocks that I did from the Home Is. And I have all the blocks made. So this big pile of blocks. Okay, I need to do something with those. And then I would like to work on a cross stitch work in progress. One that's an older UFO. All right, that is the status. My status. Let's first talk the Friendship. Then the Friendship. The typewriter runner. The Valentine one. Here it is. So I got this. I got the binding on it, and I am exploring doing a different kind of binding than I usually do, where I sew it on the front, pull it to the back, and then sew in the ditch. So it's in the ditch binding. Sew in the ditch so that you catch the back side like this, versus seeing the stitching on the front like I usually do when I do my binding by machine. So I do all my binding by machine anyways, so I've just never tried this technique. Here, this was from one of the sampler boxes earlier in January, probably for February. Turned out really cute. So this is my 3rd time with the in the ditch, and each time I'm adding a little more detail to and care in getting the binding turned over. So this time I made sure I really did press it very firmly and pull it to the back side so that it covered the seam that I attached it with, because that's key. So the interesting part is I have a lot of it that looks really good. I only had 2 places that I didn't catch. So I had a place, I forget, well, it doesn't really matter, but I had 2 spots. I had 2 spots that I didn't catch. One, I didn't get it over the seam allowance, but the other one, the binding itself, the turned under part, flipped out so that there was no turned under section for about that long. So I hand stitched that under, which I think that's an improvement on this is the 3rd one that I've done. The next one size-wise is the Mermaid, which is not as big as the other ones I have waiting for binding. So if I try it on the Mermaid, I at least have a little bit smaller piece to handle. I did glue the corners. As I got to the corners, I glued them. I did not glue the whole length, just in the corners, which worked really well. The corners that one didn't quite get caught, but here, like this one did, and you can still see some messy glue, but that was pretty good. So that worked pretty good. There is inconsistency because I'm not used to sewing blind. I'm used to pulling it to the front where I can see everything. So I can be sure it's covering that seam allowance. I can be sure that it looks even on the front. I'm sewing blind here with pulling it to the back. So I'm still working on it. You can see here I've got where it looks really nice here because I don't have it pulled too far, but then over here it got pulled too far. So, so you have a bit of a flap. Like, is this little flap here a problem? Some of you feel it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem for me because, one, this is a wall hanging. As long as that, if you were going to wash it, you would want to be sure that it was all caught under and that turned under part wasn't like barely caught by a thread, so that as you washed it, the agitation will pull it out. So there's some things to look at for this method, but I will do a 4th one. And I think it's just a matter of practice because I didn't get good at pulling it to the front by the 3rd or 4th one. I tell you what, it probably was 10 or 12 or 15 or 35 before I felt like I could do it really, really nicely. And I have a few other pieces where I've been sorting, so I thought I'd show you a couple of them. This one I showed you the other day, but I did realize I didn't show you the binding thread. So I wanted to show you that. I used variegated thread for the binding, and here is one like I usually do it. I pull the binding, sew it on the back, pull it to the front, and then I blanket stitch it to the front. So I have all the visibility I need. But the variegated binding is super fun. You see how it changes color as it goes along, and I thought it worked really well with this fabric, which is one of my older fabric lines. And now the next ones I'm going to show you here are super primitive. And primitive being a style. Folk art primitive is a style of art. You can find it in sculpture, you can find it in clay, in painting, in textiles. So I like to work in primitive and folk art, and that's how I started my business in those styles. So these are all from about 1999, 98, which is when I was teaching in a folk art shop. So I was teaching in this little folk art shop. So here's my it's like a little log house, and then the bottom says welcome, and it's a flag. It's a stylized flag. Can you see it all? There we go. That guy. He's so cute. I'm keeping him. And then a little heart with the star. And now all of this is like, these are just raw edge. I just hand cut these and stitch them down the raw edge. This is all flannel. Well, the backgrounds are somewhat flannel. This is flannel. I did the same fabric on the back. Now I'll show you this last one. I don't know, I think this may have been published in a magazine. Otherwise I just did it for myself, I don't know. But here is a big pot with like a flower, like a trellis, with a trellis in it. And then I have berries and little bees, and the berries are all hand stitched around the edge, raw edge. You can see them there, they're all raw edge, and they feel a little poofy, like maybe I put an extra little piece of batting on top to give them layered, but you can see they're all raw edge. And so it was fun. I had forgotten about this one. I had not thought about it at all for many, many years. Now I'll show you the backing, because I've always wanted to use up what I have for backing. So here's let me get him right side. Here's the back of this one. So I've got a variety of fabrics. Some of them do not go with the front whatsoever. They're not, you know, this fabric here is sort of bright and not the same feel at all. I have to show you the bee. Did you see the bee? There's my little bees. Aren't they cute? The other morning I went out and there were bees sleeping on my coneflowers. I mean, they're basically like passed out, sleeping on top of the coneflowers. They're so cute. The big fat bumblebees. All right, so another thing I'm working to do here is these red, white, and blue blocks. And I have 5 now, which is pretty neat. They're really looking good together. That's a partial one. So there we go. Let me see if I can get, yeah, so there you can see. You can see. And I'm trying to keep them with, this is what I'm going to do. It's like I'm going to have a navy in the top right. Okay, did I put absolutely none of them that way? Okay, there we go. So navy, 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 navy. And I'm not making these strictly the same. Like I'm switching them up sometimes so that I get a little bit of variety, because I don't want hard visual lines of all red, all blue, all red, all blue. So I am sort of switching up a little bit how I sequence the colors. And then I keep putting them up on the wall to take a look at them. This is going to be so fun. I don't know how long it'll take me to do these. It really depends on how often I'm sitting down to sew, because I'm doing these. And the other night I just did some. I just did a few. I think I did 1 block. So that was kind of fun to do. 1 block to get it going. All right. So I have to show you something funny. Mr. Greg and I have decided we should go and try all those chicken sandwiches out there, because we have not done that yet. Like, we might be the only people in the world that haven't tried it. So he was like taping this up on the fridge. Like, here, this is where we're gonna go. It's like, oh my God. I know they're not healthy, but we can try one every so often. So we've already tried Popeyes, so now we have to go to Burger King next, and then whatever other places in the competition for these gigantic chicken sandwiches. But that's okay, it's fun. It's something fun to do. If you're doing something fun like that, let me know in the comments. Maybe I want to do that too. All right, get your calendar and print it off. And if you are so inclined, now where is it? Do a project sheet. I don't know where my new one is. I put it in the pile here, but do the project sheet so that you can track what you did in June. You can have a goal, like what you were trying to accomplish. That's what I like. I can look at that and go, okay, I'm not making it, or yes, I'm hitting them. I like that part. I like to do a thumbs up on it. Okay, my friend. I love you. Mwah. See you online.